I get too far ahead with myself, and before I call Dr. Paul Kariuki to do the official welcome, I'd like you to help me in giving a round of applause to Umlilo Mighty Singers as they start us off for today's gathering. A round of applause for Umlilo Mighty Singers. right. I expect the very same round of applause when I'm done facilitating today. Once more, we'd like to welcome you to a warm and sunny Durban. Is it? For those of you who brought the rain from Cape Town and from Johannesburg as well, we are not happy with you at the moment, but we'll make do with what we have. Once again, my name is Pamantan Tongo, Senior Programs Officer and Facilitator Extraordinaire. The extraordinaire, I just added myself now. So I'd like to welcome you to our, I think in 2014 it was the 9th local government conference. So if we start to do the math now it's 2023, which is 9 years later. 9 plus 9 is the 18th local government conference with the Democracy Development Program. So a round of applause for the work that started many years ago. I was in primary school when the first conference happened, I guess. So I'm glad to be here. But before I get too comfortable again, I'd like to welcome Dr. Paul Kariuki, who's going to do an official welcome on behalf of all of us here at DDP, and I'll take you through the rest of the program shortly. Round of applause for Dr. Kariuki.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you so much, colleagues that we just met them a day or two ago. Let me just say something very unique with this team of young people that have just gave us a night. They are from one of our sites for our migration project that they assembled themselves together in a couple of days, and they just came up with this powerful number that they have presented to us. So we are very, very happy about the work that we've done. You know, there's some things that you can never capture in a concept note for a project. This is one of them. But we are very happy that we have something like this that we can be able to share with all of you and really make our work very visible in a very powerful way. So my task here is very simple. First of all, is to welcome all of you to this wonderful occasion for us. It's an annual program that we offer, and not just because we just want to have something on our calendar, but it's because we value the work that we're doing with many of you in the local government space. And in this room, aside from our board members, who I'm very, very, very pleased to have today, all of them here seated in front of us here, I'm also very, very pleased to see all our partners who have come from all kinds of places across the province. And I'm told that some of us are still on their way. Apparently there is a serious traffic jam on N3 from Pietermaritzburg. They are on their way, some of them are in our program. But besides that, I just want to say thank you for your ongoing support. As my colleague Brian has just characterized, I think this should be the 18th or so of our local government conference. And I'm so pleased that we are hosting this conference at a very special year. This year we are celebrating our 30th year since our founding. And I'm also very, very pleased to have our founding and the first director of DDP, Dr. Rama Naidu, whom we're going to say. I would like us to give him a round of applause. We are very, very, very much pleased, Dr. Rama. It's on your shoulders that we are still standing on. You showed us the way, and we've kept the way, and we'll continue keeping the way. So we are very thankful that you also made time to be with us here today. We want also to thank Dr. Holger Dix, representing the Conrad and US Stifter, who have really remained supportive of our processes and our programs and activities for those 30 years. I would like us to give him a round of applause. He's representing the past representatives here. We also want to honor and thank the city of Durban, because all this work we could not have done without the support of our city, and the city here today is represented by Mr. Eric Applegreen. We would like also to honor you. Thank you very much. And a very long-term associate of DDP, who has really contributed to much of our work, intellectually and otherwise, Professor P.S. Ray, whom I'm also happy to say he was my professor, supervised my PhD. So I'm very, very happy. And together we have continued to publish our work each year. For the last couple of years, I think now it's 5, but he has also been publishing with DDP. Even before I joined DDP, probably I was still in primary school. But I'm so thankful. Without revealing his age. But I'm so thankful that Professor P.S. Rady, our journey goes way back, and he was my professor for my PhD. And so it's very rare you find that kind of combination when we change sides in life and then still continue because of the values that we brought together in the work that we do. I recognize him as my mentor and leading this area of our work. And also in this room, we are also honored to have one of the representatives of the interfaith movement in this city. Actually, the two, Mrs. Seydou, somewhere, I don't know where she is. Seydou, there she is. She represents the interfaith community of our province. I think she's still the coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. And also Bishop Mike Foster. I would like to also acknowledge you. Thank you so much. When we started, go ahead and give him a round of applause. I'm mentioning this because when we started our work of managing migration, in the first episodes of xenophobia, he was one of the people that we ran to help us and guide us and to mobilize the interfaith community to support us in response. So we honor you and recognize you, Bishop. Thank you so much for coming. And members of the media who are in this room, I won't want to make a mistake because I don't know who it's, you can see they're here. And I really appreciate you guys for supporting the DDP work and making sure that we are able to put it out there for the public to engage with. Members from the different political parties, some from the government departments, and distinguished guests, I really want to welcome you. We are honored as DDP because as we celebrate these 30 years of our work, we celebrate our resilience as an organization, that we have remained true to our vision, and we remain focused to make sure that we continue to develop and to deepen the practice of democracy in this country, recognizing that this project cannot be done by one single organization. It requires a multi-approach kind of way of doing work, and you guys have really contributed to that process over these 30 years. I also want to acknowledge the past and present DDP staff that also remain very, very passionate for the work that we do, and they always go the proverbial extra mile to make it work. Majority of you who are in this room have attended various DDP activities over the years, including this year, and I think you can attest to the fact that our DDP team has been exceptional. So I would like you to give them a round of applause. We can do better than that. They are all here. They want to see something. They make me look good. And I appreciate them for that. And they know that I really do honor their efforts that they put behind to make our activities and our events an experience that is worth your time. We do not take your time for granted, neither do we also take the efforts that you put in providing us feedback on a continuous basis to make it worthwhile. And before I take my seat, I also want to recognize that in the course of the 30 years that we've worked, we have also learned a lot of lessons, and we continue to learn them as we go forward. My urge to you all is that you continue to support us so that in the next 30 years, God willing that it will all be alive then, or those who will come after we've gone, will have somewhere they can continue to build on from the foundation that has been laid. So I would like to urge you to continue supporting this work, giving us your insights, sharing us with your ideas, engaging with us whenever we convene, and more importantly, whenever you have an idea that you want to think that we can be able to benefit from. We recognize that we cannot be able to answer all challenges or respond to all the challenges that are facing us, especially in this local government sector, but we value your insights. So I'm saying the doors are open for you to come and share those with us. Help us to do what we do best together, collectively, so that we can make this city, this our province, and our nation a better country for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kariuki. Another round of applause for him, please. So I have the honor of also inviting a long-term partner and friend of the DDP from the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, Dr. Holger Dix, who has a doctorate in philosophy that he completed in 1996 when I was here. Dr. Dix has served as the resident representative of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung since 2012, but he now serves on the continent and in the region, I think in the east, Dr. Dix, your portfolio. Sub-Saharan Africa portfolio. So he leads the Konrad Adenauer Foundation in that space. So we'd like to welcome him to give his remarks as a partner of the DDP, as a long-term stakeholder in the work that we do. Please give him a round of applause.
Good morning. Madam Chairperson, members of the board, Dr. Kariuki, ladies and gentlemen, let me start. I will share a secret with you before I start with my official presentation. I'm always getting nervous when I'm standing in front of DDP participants. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. You probably remember that I was with you when you celebrated the 10 years anniversary of DDP. And I just, at that time, I just was appointed director of the Africa and Middle Near East Department of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation in Berlin. And our then resident representative, Andrea Ostheimer, she asked me to come to Durban for the 10 years anniversary and to present a speech. Now, we had, I think, 400 people in the room. It was packed. And I already was a little bit nervous, so I wanted to make sure that I have my speech. And before the activity started, I did put my speech on the desk here. When I was invited, there were other speakers before me. When I was invited to speak, I came to the podium here. My speech was here. So I had to start my speech for the 10 years anniversary of DDP with a question into the room. Please check if you have my speech. And then, whenever I'm speaking at DDP, I make sure that I have my speech with me and I'm a little bit nervous. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure for me to be with you and to represent the Konrad Adenauer Foundation today. Those who still know me as the former director of the country program in South Africa should not panic now. I'm not back as country director. I'm only representing my colleague Gregor Jekyll, who is the country director of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. He's based in Cape Town, but right now he is the delegation of South African politicians in Berlin and in Kiel, and they discuss, they share experiences in how to manage coalitions, which might be an important topic in the near future in South Africa. So as I said earlier, I was following the work DDP is doing. I've participated in some of these conferences already, and I know the importance of the conference, and I'd like just to say congratulations again to DDP for organizing this important event. I'm really happy and pleased to see that the founding director of DDP, Dr. Rama Naidu, is today present here. I'm very pleased to meet again the chairwoman of the board of directors, Devi Rajab. It's always a pleasure meeting you, Devi. But I would also like to say that we greatly miss a person who had a very strong influence on the work of DDP, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. May his soul rest in peace. I think anyone who knew Prince Buthelezi knows that local self-government and a decentralized approach to governance were very important to him. Ladies and gentlemen, when I returned to South Africa, that was mentioned already, so after my term here as resident representative, I went to Tunisia for 4 years, and now since 21 I'm back with a regional program on political dialogue with and within Sub-Saharan Africa. So when I returned back to South Africa, I wanted to find out, so how has the country developed in these last five years? What has changed? And I have to say that there are some indications that show that South Africa is not on a very good path. I hope I'm not too negative. And when I say that South Africa is probably not on a very good path, I'm not talking about the country's international relations, which have created a great debate the last years in Europe and Germany. Not talking about energy supply, this has changed a lot. We have frequently, those who live in Joburg, I don't know about Durban, we frequently have power cuts, and that was not the case when I left South Africa. But what I mean when I say that the country has changed, talking about the mood, the atmosphere that exists in South Africa today. Maybe I'm exaggerating, tell me, but I do have the impression that there is the danger today that South Africans lose the hope for a better future and even find it useless to commit themselves to their country and help shape their own future. I do not want to claim that what I say is correct. Please, I may be wrong. But if that is the case, if the mood has changed, if people are losing hope, then all social forces must be encouraged to counteract this trend. And among these forces, undoubtedly DDP is a major actor, which has already played an important role in anchoring the young South African democracy in the society since its founding. Over the past 3 decades, DDP has developed instruments and topics that strengthen the political participation of the population. And I'm sure that my friend Dr. Ramanaidu will tell you later and show you later that the measures promoted by DDP have had and will continue to have a positive impact on South Africa's development. Today, you saw in the program, my task is to send a message of support. So let me send you a message of support. Also Germany, and maybe you're following that a little bit, we have some issues with our budget. Germany is suffering a lot because we have to respond to a war in Europe, and we do have to put much more money into military and defense than we were supposed to do. But even if that is the case, I can assure you that the Konrad Adenauer Foundation will continue to support the work of DDP. We are really proud to be a partner of DDP, and I wish you, I don't know whether it's correct, 30 years birthday, happy birthday, and a bright future for DDP. And thanks again for being partner of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dix, for words of support on behalf of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. I was just thinking that when we talk about the conference today and our reflection on the 25 years of the White Paper on Local Government, when we were partnering with Prof. P.S. Reddy and UKZN, the way you knew that he wrote the concept note for that conference, it would have Kwa Vadis in the title. So I don't know if anyone of you know what Kwa Vadis means. We'll ask Prof. P.S. Reddy what it means, because I also forgot. But I was just remembering some of the very lengthy concept notes that he used to write for us. And so when we talk about 25 years of local government, it's important to reflect on the multiple facets that we engaged in. So our panels for today will venture both in terms of the administrative part of it, where we have the Auditor General presenting to us some of the PFMA findings that their office is doing, and we're very lucky to have continued a working relationship with the Auditor General's office insofar as creating the linkages between the work of institutions, Chapter 9 institutions like the AGSA's office, as well as civil society and the constituencies that we are a part of. We hope that through these presentations, we increase what the Auditor General's office actually refers to as an ecosystem of accountability. So who are the stakeholders that you need to bring into the room to ensure that accountability is something that is substantive? It's not just something that's written down in policy documents or just spoken about randomly without real interest in ensuring that people participate. We're also going to be hearing, and I'm very excited for this presentation in particular. Everyone else, I'm excited for your presentations too, but specifically the Westville Ratepayers Association will be one of the presentations that we engage with. As you know, to some extent, I might misrepresent, but they have the opportunity to correct me. They're essentially saying to the city, you aren't doing enough. You're not doing the work that you need to be doing, and so we will withhold our taxpayer, our rates, our taxes, and we will do the services that you're meant to be doing while still taking you to court, because to some extent, you need to be held accountable for non-delivery and not doing the work that you're actually mandated to do. So we have a presentation from that side as well. We also have a long-term partner of the DDP in this work of sustaining a sort of a developmental local government. The Built Environment Support Group, BEST, which is also going to be joining us. They are unfortunately part of the probably hundreds of thousands of people that are caught in between traffic between Pietermaritzburg and here, because unfortunately there was a big accident this morning. We hope that there are no casualties, but we are looking forward to seeing them when they do arrive. Of course, the Auditor General's office was also meant to be here physically, but they do have an office in Pietermaritzburg, and so they'll be presenting virtually instead, and we'll set that up shortly. Of course, we have various important presentations as well from our former Executive Director and founding Executive Director, Dr. Rama Naidu, where he talks as well about the impact of the work of civil society in the space of local government and ensuring increased transparency, increased accountability, and all of those aspects that are very fundamental to our work. As we go throughout the day, I'd like, firstly, I heard when I was sitting down and listening to Dr. Dix, someone's cell phone rang. Just a reminder that when we are convening in the space, it's relatively, there's a lot of echo and stuff like that, and we recognize that all of you are very busy people, so we're not going to ask you to switch your phones off, but at least put it on vibrate so that it doesn't affect the speaker on the floor. You will have an opportunity at various points in time to also engage both at your tables as well as directly to the plenary, which means potentially directly to the people that might be as part of the panel. We'd like you to be cautious and aware of the way in which you use your voice in the space. One very important one, watch your airtime. I don't know if people use airtime anymore because I've been getting a lot of WhatsApp voice calls, and that's problematic. So I guess watch your data is what it means. So watch your data, be wary of the other voices who might not be speaking as loudly in the space. Listen with intent. Often when you come into this space, you already have some preconceived ideas, especially when you hear Ratepayers Association withholding money. So Mr. Applegreen has a specific view on that as part of municipality. So maybe you hold off on some of your preconceived ideas. Listen with intent and ask questions to inquire, to genuinely understand what it is that people are engaged with. Of course, we are very also lucky to have with us very two astute gentlemen who will be chairing our sessions for this morning. And I do apologize to them. I might step in here and there, given the changes in the program as a result of the traffic from Pietermaritzburg. So I might juggle things around in the program, but I hope that you know me well enough to know that I'm not doing it out of ill intent. So we have with us the chairman of Kwenze Community Organization, Mr. Arvin Bola, who's also a partner, helped us start the KZN CSOC as an administrator and ran that quite efficiently for some time. He's also been leading some efforts in our advocacy and lobbying work as it relates to the local government learning and action and learning network. So he'll be chairing one of the sessions. We also have our former board member, Mr. Bibi Viena, who's a very astute local government practitioner in his own right, and so it's important that they will be chairing some of those sessions as well. So, given that on the first panel we were meant to have the Auditor General's Office and BESC as part of that panel, I'd like to ask from the Westville Ratepayers Association to join us at the front. The representative of the Ratepayers Association is Wayne. I've forgotten his surname and I do apologize. He'll reintroduce himself as he gets to the front. And we'll have firstly a virtual presentation from the Auditor General's Office and thereafter followed by Wayne. I think it still ties in nicely, right? Because you have from one hand some PFMA audit outcomes, what are the things that the Auditor General's Office is observing, and then secondly we have the Westville Ratepayers Association as citizens who are actually engaged in some lobbying and advocacy work who are meant to be recipients of this. I'd like to invite Mr. Bibi Viena, who's going to be chairing that session for us, and so those are now just the sort of rejigging of that space. Mr. Viena, as you can see. Our chairperson will help guide us. So we're going to have a virtual presentation from the Auditor General's Office, and then we'll have a presentation from the Westville Ratepayers Association as part of your panel. Yes, please do. If you have some opening remarks for us, we're also happy to hear it before I set up the whole tech thing for the Auditor General. But to say anything on that side. Cool.
No, I think it is in.
Sorry, apologies for the recording. We need you at the mic, sir. I
don't know what they call you, Master of Ceremonies or MC
see mental case. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And it's very interesting to note that we have now completed 30 years of service as DDP, working with communities, really from not only communities from cities and so on, working with communities even in traditional authority areas, even in townships, which is not normally the case with some other organizations. You will find that they are just, they know the urban setup and they don't know the other area. So we are very grateful that we are going to have this discussion, and I think we would allow that the Auditor General is set up so that he can start speaking, because the issue of accountability is very important. When one looks at the boycotts that are happening in our country, and if one looks at the crime levels and so on, we think sometimes we have lost it all, despite the fact that we have institutions that are supporting democracy, the Chapter 9 institutions, and sometimes we lose hope. But with organizations like DDP, they bring hope back, because then we know that there are some good Samaritans who are really looking at whatever is happening within the country, and then we then take a stand that, oh, things might become better in the future. So let us then listen to the Auditor General at the moment, as she is already on the screen. Thank you.
Good morning. An official good morning to everyone. I'd like to start by saying all protocols observed, and to thank DDP for the invite and the opportunity to once again be part of the local government conference and share insights from our audits as the KZN Office of the Auditor General. Just in terms of what I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to talk a bit about the accountability ecosystem and how we believe this will play a role in shifting the public sector towards improving audit outcomes and service delivery. And as this is a local government conference, I'm not going to share with you the most recent PFMA outcomes which we concluded at the end of July, but I'm going to take you through the outcomes for local government that we concluded at the end of November 2022. So it's just a slight correction on what I'm going to share. But I think those insights in local government that I'm going to share with you briefly will also just tie in with the rest of the speakers in terms of the conference and what we as the accountability ecosystem can do to change the face of local government. With that, I will ask Barishka, who's assisting me, to project the slides, and then I'll talk you through them. Last year, when I attended the conference, I did get feedback that the information I'm sharing in my slide is far too technical. So this year we have changed it, and we're trying to provide more information, more insights. But it's a work in progress, and any feedback we get even after today's presentation, we'll take that, we'll make further refinements to the messages we share, and hopefully we do get an invite to come back to this platform and other platforms to share our messages. As I said, I'm here today to share with you the local government outcomes for KZN for the 21-22 audit cycle that ended in November 22. And with that, I will have some insights in terms of what we did find during this audit process. If we can move to the slide that covers our next slide, please. Okay, let's stay with the slide on the accountability ecosystem. So here what we want to demonstrate is there's a network of stakeholders that have a mandate or a responsibility, whether legislative or moral, to drive, deepen, and insist on public sector accountability. The mission of shifting public sector culture through insight and influence is broad and cannot be achieved by the AGSA alone. Critical to our ability to successfully deliver this mission within the scope of our mandate will be the extent to which we are able to influence the rest of the members of the broader accountability ecosystem to fulfill their respective responsibilities and mandates in a coordinated, consistent, and effective manner. Failure by any part of the ecosystem to effectively play its role, particularly due to the unique role that each stakeholder has to play, has a detrimental impact on the effectiveness of the ecosystem as a whole and also tends to undermine the ability of other stakeholders to effectively play their roles given the additional burden of responsibility that they are required to carry in addition to that which falls within their particular scope and mandate. By the time that we, as the auditors, report on adverse findings, it means there are multiple failures that already occurred along the accountability chain. Meaningful contribution towards reversing the trend, persistent accountability failures, and realizing the aspiration of making a stronger and more direct impact on the lived reality of ordinary South Africans is vital. Therefore, the AGSA should leverage off its capabilities towards generating insights and applying influence to stakeholders in a manner that shifts the culture of public sector towards one of performance. In terms of the broad message that I've shared, in terms of what you see in front of you, and the reason that I'm here today is in response to the role played by the active citizenry in the whole ecosystem, and to share insights with you and to form a collaboration and deeper understanding of how together we can influence the public sector, the performance of the public sector, with particular emphasis in local government. So in local government, you will have, in charge of each municipality, your accounting officer, that's supported by senior management, will have a role in terms of administration. And then you've got the executive authority, being the municipal council, led by different committees, and also the leadership provided by the mayor at local government level. Oversight over local government then comes in the form of Office of the Premier, Department of Copter, as well as Provincial Treasury, and the role that they play in terms of being coordinating ministry, in terms of the support and oversight they provide to the local government space. And as I said, there's a role then played by the active citizenry, or what we call civil society organizations. And it's the reason that I've been invited and I wanted to be part of this conference is to engage further with civil society organizations. So what we've realized as the Auditor General over the past years is that our insights and messages are limited by our interactions with the municipalities alone. But should we then engage with organizations that are actually on the ground, we can have deeper insights and the impact on our audit and risk assessments can change. So as a result of that, we want to then collaborate with civil society organizations in terms of sharing messages, so in terms of insights, influencing the process, and where we can't achieve in terms of insight and influence, then move on to enforcement in terms of having material irregularities that will then create change in the public sector and hold those responsible for performance accountable. So one of the reasons we want to engage with CSOs is to identify impactful audit topics with high risk and materiality, better understanding of the effectiveness and impact of government programs, learning from CSO experiences on the ground locally, creating a listening audience eagerly awaiting audit reports. So it's to take the audit reports and make the messages meaningful to society at large. Building community engagement and educating community groups about the role of the audit office, enhancing the credibility of the audit office, and having CSOs advocate for and monitor the implementation of audit recommendations. So very often we find as I go through the audit outcomes, we do the audit, we give the insights, we give recommendations, but the slow response in implementing those recommendations prevent a change in the public sector. And this collaboration with the active citizenry, we are hoping will then impact and assist with some of the change we want to see. I'm then going to move on to the actual audit outcomes for the last local government audit. And you'll see that the overall audit outcomes in the province improved. These improvements were driven by commitments and more responsive actions taken by leadership and senior management, which included the filling of vacancies in critical positions and stability in senior management positions, which laid the foundation for efforts to improve the control environment. 9 municipalities improved their audit opinion, while 4 regressed. What I want to emphasize for the KZN province is that the audit outcomes are year-on-year moving into, even over the administrative term, are moving to a better position. So we have now standing audits. We only have 1 audit sitting with a disclaimed audit opinion. Disclaimed means that records were not in place for us to issue an audit opinion. In terms of adverse audit opinions, where we say we cannot express any opinion on the financial statements, or that we express an adverse opinion on what's disclosed, is also only 1 audit that's sitting there. And the rest of the audits are sitting in qualified, with areas have been marked for improvement, and as you can see, 76%, which is also quite a huge majority of the budget, is saying in unqualified findings. There is a slight improvement in terms of clean audit outcomes. And what I'm advocating for, speaking to, is that the more municipalities we can get to an unqualified space or to a clean audit space, so that their control environment is sound, the monitoring and the role plays in terms of audit community, in terms of audit, the oversight by the political leadership and that of the accounting officers sound, and therefore this municipality can then start focusing on improving service delivery, responding to infrastructure, aging infrastructure, etc. So that is why there's a huge emphasis on audit outcomes and wanting to see an improvement in the province. In terms of the improvement in the province, we have role players from the Doctor that we meet with on a regular basis to discuss the challenges in local government and how we can work together to then improve local government. In terms of the stakeholder climate with respect to local government, we've seen that there has been changes in terms of the provincial leadership, and we had to take that into account in terms of the messages that we wanted to give. So here's just to give a snapshot of there has been changes. And as you know, we're going into an election period, so there'll be further changes to the provincial leadership. And we've also seen changes due to the coalition, or changes within the coalitions in the province, that even there were changes at municipal managers as well as mayors in the province. So these changes does tend to lead to an instability, and it takes the focus away from service delivery thereafter. But it's just to raise some attention into that. In terms of accountability and consequence management, we find that there's a slow pace in implementing consequence management and holding officials accountable. So what we're finding year on year is an increase in the unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So we're not saying that these are necessarily relating to fraud, but we're saying fruitless and wasteful is money that could have been used elsewhere in terms of if you incur interest on late payments or standing time, then that money could have been reinvested back into infrastructure, back into service delivery. Unauthorized expenditure speaks to poor cash flow management, speaks to unfunded budgets, etc. And irregular expenditure speaks to non-compliance. So having an environment where the officials are not adhering to compliance does not speak well for, once again, ensuring that there's transparency in actions as well as service delivery and accountability taking place. So we also found that disciplinary boards were established at all municipalities, except for Mzanyati, and this is a huge step forward in terms of addressing the consequence management that we have been speaking to local government about for the last 4 or 5 years, and we're hoping to see an increase in terms of investigations being undertaken, completed, and officials then held accountable. It's similar in terms of governance matters to speak about risk management strategies the role of the Internal Audit and Audit Committee in hoping to see an improvement in these areas as the province moves towards further improvements in the audit outcomes. In terms of oversight, I spoke about the role played by COPTA, SALGA, and a provincial treasury, as well as Office of the Premier in the province. And I think that active role that they are playing is definitely leading to an improvement in audit outcomes in terms of our relationship and working with those provincial departments and their oversight role in the province. This is a snapshot of what we did with respect to the local government audit. We looked at the financial statements, the annual performance report, compliance with key legislation, as well as we have the amendment to the Public Audit Act, where we raise material irregularities in terms of any financial loss or harm to the public that we come across. We also, in the blue block below that, paid specific attention to the service delivery with respect to water, electricity, housing and roads. We looked at governance and accountability and whether management took timely corrective action and consequence management with respect to findings raised in the past. So as I've said, we've had an overall improvement in audit outcomes. There was a role played by Cochrane Provincial Treasury. There was a slight improvement on compliance with legislation. However, we did note findings with respect to uncompetitive and unfair processes continue to plague municipalities and non-compliance resulting in material irregularities. We have seen an increase in the unauthorized, irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and we have two municipalities being the Bukhari District and the eThekwini Metro being the highest contributors to irregular expenditure. And we're seeing a lack of consequence management, which I have spoken to, and what's required there. Can we? In terms of the local government outcomes and why we focus on the metro is one of the biggest contributors to the economy of KZN, and a lot of what happens within the eThekwini Metro is then replicated in other municipalities, almost becomes Big Brother in the province, and as I said, it drives a big portion of the economy and job creation in KZN. So we do draw attention of messages around the Metro, and we share that with both the Council of eThekwini as well as the provincial leadership of KZN in terms of matters we wanted to bring to their attention. So we find that there is a stagnation in the outcomes for eThekwini for the last 5 years in terms of them being unqualified with findings and the findings around compliance with legislation in various areas. We've seen they are the biggest contributors to irregular expenditure in the province. So we have been sharing findings of non-compliance and SEM non-compliance, but they have not been able to reduce the irregular expenditure irrespective of the recommendation that we've given the municipality. Over and above that, the city, like other municipalities in South Africa, is experiencing aging infrastructure challenges that threaten service delivery commitments to the residents. The situation is exacerbated by damage and loss of infrastructure, as well as a result of normal wear and tear, theft, vandalism, and the impact of the floods of April-May 2022. So these various matters that are impacting on the aging infrastructure and the lack of reinvestment in terms of having a budget for repairs and maintenance is further contributing towards this. Water losses, we see an increase, and I think everyone here in the conference is well aware of all the media articles around water tampering, residents not receiving water, and I think the Ratepayers Association will then give further insight into why there's a rates boycott in terms of, again, being unhappy with service delivery by the Metro. So our messages to the Metro is about accountability, focusing on service delivery, and we're trying to find the root cause of why there's failures in certain areas by then drawing specific attention to the infrastructure that requires maintenance, looking at what the water losses are here, looking at the got the plan to the master plan in terms of addressing these failing infrastructure or deteriorating infrastructure. On my right-hand side is the action required by role players, and these are the messages that we've shared with management, mayors, council and committees, as well as requiring support from National Treasury as well as National Department of Water and Sanitation to assist the municipality with reducing water losses. All the money saved in terms of water losses can be reinvested back into infrastructure and to other service delivery improvements as well by the Metro. As I go through the outcomes, I'll also touch on other areas where the Metro can improve or where we've seen failures in terms of service delivery. We then look at what support is given to local government and the municipalities themselves, as well as that of Copter and Provincial Treasury, provide support to local government through the use of consultants. So we did some extensive work here, because as you can see, there was a huge amount of money that was paid to consultants, but it didn't necessarily result or equate into improved audit outcomes. So we actually tracked in which municipalities, what services were provided, and did it necessarily lead to the municipality. So if I can simplify, if they had a fully functional financial management unit, meaning no vacancy, there's a CFO, therefore there's a strong control environment, should they have required the need for a consultant, and if the consultant was there, do they then assist the municipality in terms of transfer of skills such that the dependency on consultants can come to an end, and did it then lead into an improved audit outcome in terms of the involvement of the consultant. So total cost for consultants was 309 million, and that is monies that if can be deployed elsewhere if there isn't a dependency on consultants. So that's a message just on consultants. We've got firm commitments from Provincial Treasury and Copter to then monitor consultants at local government, as well as assist municipalities come up with MOAs and service level agreements such that the use of consultants can be monitored, and to ensure there's a transfer of skills as well to the municipalities. We can move to the next slide. The next slide speaks to financial health. Again, there's been quite a huge media coverage of municipalities not having or being in a poor financial situation. And again, as the KZN province, we emphasize that there is a challenge in terms of this. We'll see right at the bottom where we've got municipalities where we issue a going concern paragraph in the audit report. The going concern is drawing attention that these municipalities' liabilities exceed their assets, and they should something come up, there could be a challenge in terms of them being able to service their debt and as well as pay creditors. So the municipalities that we've been drawing that have going concern is in Nduzi, Newcastle, and Yaki and Nkansha. And we've also, there's more than 4, we've also got Kafana, Ubu, Lubni, and Kusikela district. And the district and the bigger municipality have challenges with revenue generation, filling of revenue, and then the collection of revenue, which then severely impacts in terms of cash flow and being able to pay creditors in time. Not paying creditors in time results in incurring interest, which then results to fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Not being able to collect on the revenue bill means that there's less money available for service delivery, for repairs and maintenance, and the cash on hand that municipalities have, they would then have to use it in terms of priority, which then goes towards paying salaries, VAT, etc. And again, the money's left over for actual infrastructure development and service delivery becomes less and less. So these are the impact of the poor financial health and the poor collection rates at municipalities. You'll see the average debt collection period is for the current year, for the 2022 year is 232 days. So that's more than 6 months, I would think about 9 months to collect debt, and the 2021 year it was 179. Bearing in mind that this is an average number over the 55 municipalities. So some municipalities, the average collection period is almost 300 days, so it's taking a year longer than a year to collect debt. And in other municipalities where they have very good credit control policies, it's between 30 and 60 days. But in any business, you have to manage cash flow, and you've got to collect on the revenue or on the billing, and when those collection rates are very poor, municipalities are in sitting in very difficult positions, and as a result of that, they're not able to then pay off debts to Eskom for the bulk electricity and to the water boards in terms of the water. So again, it starts impacting on the water boards, and that of Eskom, because when they are sitting with large debts owed by municipalities, and we're getting to a spiral of debt, again, less cash flows to reinvest in infrastructure, and we come back to aging infrastructure that's not being maintained, and I think it's coming through in terms of increase in electricity losses and increase in water losses. So you can see how it's all starting to tie in, and the messages that you can take back in terms of understanding, as soon as the revenues billed by municipalities is not paid, the consequences of it and the repercussion that it's having long term. We can move. Here, I'm not going to spend too long on this, but in terms of performance planning and reporting, this speaks to the annual performance plan and annual performance report, which is then directly linked to the IDP and the SD book, or the annual SD book of the municipality. So here, you could start off with budget roadshows where the municipality would get inputs from various communities, civil society organizations, etc., in terms of what needs to be in the annual IDP, and in the 5-year IDP, and then also what needs to then move into the annual SD book, the annual performance plan. What we have found that the annual performance plans is not always aligned to the NDP, so all targets and indicators that should be there are not there. And over and above that, we're finding a challenge with actual reporting of actual achievements against indicators and targets. So most of the municipalities have manual systems, and that's then subjected to error. So it's unreliable reporting. So although the municipalities are reporting what they have achieved, when we are going back and looking at it, there isn't sufficient evidence to support this, resulting in either material findings that we report in the audit report or adjustments being made for the achievement of the targets and indicators. So the reason that this is important for municipalities to get right is that they need to firstly ensure that there's alignment to the NDP to ensure that all material targets and indicators are included in the plan, such that the main service delivery items are being addressed, and that the actual reporting needs to be reliable and credible, such that anyone looking at it can make decisions, or better decisions can be made if there's an understanding of what's being achieved or not. So here, it's just to give deeper insight in terms of, so I've spoken about reporting, but here we've just gone a bit deeper. So we don't necessarily issue an opinion on this, but again, it's to share insight so that correct decisions can be made and the influence that we want to see and the change we want to see. So here we show targets not achieved by the indicators in the particular district. There was VIP toilets to be constructed. However, the target was 1,466, but the actual achievement was only 854. So you can see that these are things that affect the communities in most of the municipalities, and when these targets are not achieved, there's a huge impact on the citizens on the ground. The other one is with the connections for water, and the target was 101. but the actual achievement was 8. Again, a huge difference and disparity between what they set out to do at the beginning of the year and what was actually done. And again, there's various reasons for it. One of it being the budgets available and the cash flow available to invest in this. As I said, the municipalities, Utkela district is one of it that is not in a good financial health, and therefore the monies available to pay suppliers to be able to complete these projects is also challenged. And it is similar for the other municipalities that are in this slide. So again, we speak about, we go on site, we actually look at what's happening on the ground and try to provide those insights to both provincial leadership, and that actually deals with what we found in the specific projects that we looked at. So we looked at water, go to the next one. We had a specific attention on water and sanitation. We looked at, was there a master plan? We looked at maintenance plans, and then we looked specifically at wastewater treatment plants to ensure that, and quality of water. And again, we chose 5 municipalities in which to do the work. And at majority of municipalities, we found challenges, either water quality, the management of the wastewater treatment plant, or the maintenance capacity, etc. So, and again, the message is that we are coming across and finding these problems. We are giving the messages to the leadership of the municipalities. We will go back now. We are currently in the 22-23 local government audit. We're going to follow up on this and do further work on water and sanitation. But in terms of the sample we chose and what we found, it's not a good picture for the province. The floods in April, May 2022, we know where the situation was, where there was poor maintenance of this infrastructure. The flooding just then exaggerated it and made it that much worse. And there's that much more money that now needs to be spent. We also found the response to the floods was slow, and a lot of these problems it's taking the municipalities a long time to attend to. So as part of our 22-23 audit, we'll follow up on all these findings in terms of the water and sanitation infrastructure challenges, the water quality challenges, as well as the impact of the floods and how those were addressed. So I've covered the water treat. So here at the Metro, as I said, they are, when I covered the Metro and the impact on the province, we also found that there was a huge problem with, well, more than one, but in this case, the water works treatment, I'm going to get this right. In terms of the northern and Mbumbila wastewater treatment works, we found quite a few challenges there, such that there was an overflow leakage that was leading into the main rivers and into the ocean, and this led to us issuing or notifying the municipality with respect to material irregularity, where we said there's harm to the public. We are in the process of getting responses from the municipality. They are paying particular attention to address it, and I think they have been able to repair quite a bit of it. But again, we have to go to the extent of saying that there's harm to the public and attention needs to be placed on this. But we don't want municipalities just to respond to the findings we raised. We want them to look at what is the root cause and start addressing it holistically, such that across the different district municipalities that are responsible for water, as well as the bigger municipalities of Msunduzi and Etukenya, pay particular attention to the area of water, such that there isn't long-term impact on communities in terms of safety and health. Another area that we raised with the Metro was the integrated rapid public transport network. They have started to build stations and corridors, but due to various challenges, they have not gone live with this public transport network. In KZN, we are yet to have this system running. I think Gauteng and Western Cape have started, and they have been able to implement the IRPTN, as it's called, or Integrated Rapid Public Transport Network. But in KZN, the Metro was to be the flagship of this. and there's huge amounts of money being spent, but the project is still standing. So here we are actually looking at issuing a material irregularity with respect to the standing cost that is being incurred by the municipality while there's negotiations being made with respect to allowing the buses to start traveling. So there's quite a bit here, and we're quite concerned as there's monies that have been spent, but the infrastructure is not being utilized, is the message on this, and we are hoping to see some traction on that. So this slide is just a summary in terms of infrastructure projects as a whole in the province. So we find that there's delayed project completion. So this is now general statements over KZN. Increased project cost and financial losses. As soon as projects are not completed, or they stand in time, building cost escalates. We also found on completed projects quality defects that need to be attended by the service providers. Completed infrastructure not commissioned and not used or not handed over, and damage due to vandalism and service delivery projects. So I think in certain areas where there is frustration by communities in waiting for projects to be completed, there is invasion and vandalism that's occurring as well. There's the list of municipalities with selected projects, and these were the overall findings that we found on them. So it comes back to there needs to be an improvement in project planning, an improvement in procurement, project management, contract management, as well as the final commission and utilization of the projects. And I think the communities on the ground are very well aware and have been experiencing these in terms of the findings that we are sharing. As I said, we want to share these messages with leadership such that we can start to see some changes. This is again just speaking about the impact of the slow delivery, and that is to do with the housing delivery within the province. There is continued backlog in providing water to households and businesses, insufficient road and rail infrastructure, and delays in the delivery of infrastructure by public works. So this is covering also what provincial government needs to be involved in terms of assisting local government to ensure that there is the housing, the backlog in the roads, the improvement of the road and rail networks, etc. So during the PFMA audit, we have messages about these key service delivery departments where we've seen the failures and where the improvement needs to be as well. So that has been our focus for PFMA. Irregular expenditure, I'm not going to spend too much time here. I did speak about biggest contributors. There has been an increase, and the root cause is the consequence management and the transgressions that are not being dealt with. It does have a negative impact on the economy, as well as service delivery, and therefore an impact on citizens at large. I have spoken about material irregularity. So the definition of a material irregularity is any non-compliance that results in a financial loss or fraud or theft or harm to the public. It allows us, it's a legal process, it allows us to raise the material irregularity to the accounting officer, and then it puts the accounting officer in a position where they have 20 days in which to respond, how they will prevent the loss or recover the loss or prevent the harm that is taking place. So in terms of the local government space, we have 45 material irregularities and non-compliance and fraud, and we give a detail of that. I think what I'd like to focus on is that 2.57 million, I know it's not a lot, but it is something. One of the auditees has recovered the 2.57 million. We've also been able to prevent 4.97 further financial losses from taking place, and 553 million is in the process of being recovered in terms of the remaining MIs that still need to be resolved in flows. So the amendment to the Public Audit Act, the issuing of material irregularities is starting to have a small dent, and in the current MFMA space, which is 22-23, we will look at the recoveries of the 553 million, and should there be other matters that we pick up, there will be further material irregularities that will be issued. Key findings in the information technology environment. the reason that I wanted to speak to this, but I'm not going to go into any detail, is to say that I think we all understand the power of technology, and I think today speaks to it from my side in that the roads were closed. I couldn't get to the conference, but I'm still able to speak to all of you through a virtual platform. So the enhancing of IT infrastructure, investment of IT infrastructure, and being able to then manage, monitor, and improve control environments in local government can only come from the investment in IT governance and in IT infrastructure. So here, this is the message we want to give all stakeholders, is that if this investment is not taking place, municipalities are open to cyber attacks, loss of key information, lack of a control environment, or not having a robust control environment that would monitor all aspects, shorten queue times when people go with inquiries to municipalities. Quite a bit that can happen should there be this investment in the IT space, and that is my message around this slide. Here, it's again, I have spoken to this, so I'm not going to spend much time on it, but it just speaks to the roles played by provincial legislature as the overarching oversight over the province as a whole. What they have done is they had Section 132 hearings, where they called the 7 municipalities from the 21-22 year that had performed badly, and they had addressed these municipalities. They had resolutions, and they wanted to track how these municipalities would improve. And I think we've seen that these hearings have been successful, and that there has been improvement in quite a few areas, in quite a few municipalities, and we are hoping to see further improvements and the role played by Cochrane and Treasury in assisting these municipalities. So what they have said to us in the current cycle is that they are now even going to take the Section 32 hearings and resolutions into the full house, into the legislature sitting, such that they can have resolutions and recommendations at that stage and commitments that will be tracked. So there is quite a seriousness in terms of oversight over local government and understanding how important it is for local government to improve both on audit outcomes and service delivery. And it's similar in terms of the interventions put in by Office of Premier Treasury and Comptroller, with that understanding of how the role that local government plays in terms of service delivery. My last slide is, as you can see, it says activating the accountability ecosystem. And again, it speaks to the role that each and every one of us play in terms of how we shift the public sector culture and how we can improve with on service delivery and hold those in office accountable. So this message is to the different role plays where we've asked for county officers to, in terms of robust reviews and continuous in-year monitoring of preventative controls over financial and performance reporting and compliance with legislation. And that is to improve audit outcomes, improve the reporting of the performance indicators and targets, as well as to reduce the irregular expenditure with respect to non-compliance. Effective use of consultants to stabilize and capacitate the administration, so not to have an over-reliance on consultants, but to find a way that skills can be transferred. A robust financial management culture, which includes ensuring all revenue dues collected, prudent spending, and prevention and speedy recovery of financial loss and wastage will contribute to increased service delivery as more funds will be available. And to the political and administrative leadership to work together to foster a culture of accountability and implement effective consequences for transgressions and strengthen government structures. And I think my final message would be that there has to be coordination between local, provincial, and between national, provincial, and local government to ensure successful implementation of these commitments and to drive the culture and behavior towards improving audit outcomes and service delivery. On that note, I'd like to thank all of you for your attention. During this time, as I said, try to keep, not to make it too technical, but to still have the messages with respect to the areas that require specific attention by the role plays in the local government accountability ecosystem to drive the changes and improve service delivery and thereby the lived realities of the citizens of KZN. Thank you so much. Sean, I'll hand back to you.
And I hope you are taking notes of questions that you are going to have during the question time. And And I was saying, I hope you are taking notes of the questions that you are going to have on this important topic. And I think it's a very important topic because it touches on where we are as people. Where we are as people, and also to understand really where municipalities are in terms of their financial situation. And you are going to be able to pose some answers, but more than that, it is going to give most of the practitioners, when they go back, to be able to open up to their communities and discuss these matters and make sure that there is improvements going forward. And let us then move on to the next speaker. I understand that Ms. Kulegani Mpega is here. He is the... Is that one okay? Yeah. Okay. He is the senior facilitator with a master's degree in history from the University of KZN. He also runs an organization called Built Environmental Support Group, and it's a non-profit making organization. And I think, again, as we have heard previously, the ecosystem is very important to be looking at these things. And at the moment, if we look really at the floods that we have had, it is a serious indictment on us as human beings as to whether we are doing what we should be doing to keep our environment safe for us, for our children, for the future of our grandchildren as well. And I would now like to call upon Kulegani to come and address us on this issue. And again, you must take notes of the things that he says so that during the question time you can ask.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kulegani Mpega from the Built Environment Support Group. Just one correction on my introduction. I do not run BEST. I'm one of the employees at BEST. I came with my executive director, Ms. Feroza Solomon. Can I ask you to stand so that people see you? We would like to apologize for arriving late here. We're coming from Pietermaritzburg, and many of you know that there is a situation with the N3 at the moment. There is no movement either to Maritzburg or to Durban. So we had to find alternate routes and so on. But in any case, we are happy to be here. Thank you to DDP for inviting us to share our thoughts and reflections on the state of local government. I would like to thank my fellow presenter from the AGSA for a very, very comprehensive presentation. We are the Built Environment Support Group. These things are important to say when we are an organization that is turning 40 years old. We are the Built Environment Support Group. We are 40 years old this year. We started off in 1983 at the then University of Natal by the senior lecturers or academics within the then Department of Architecture and Allied disciplines. So they set up this organization, it was a membership organization back then, to defend the rights of the poor to the city of Durban. So it grew. At some point we had an office both in Pietermaritzburg as well as in Durban. Our vision, like all of you inside this room, we have a vision of a South Africa where every South African lives in a participatory democracy with sustainable living environment and livelihood security. Where do we see our contribution specifically as best? We work in partnership with community partners. I might have to move a bit. We see our specific contribution as working in partnership with community partners. We have close to 30 community partners across the province of KwaZulu-Natal to facilitate and support participatory development, the realization of rights to land, housing-based services, livelihood security, and environmental justice. Here I'm giving you a list of people that we work with, the partnerships that we are part of. The top two are not active at the moment, but still they are important. The Good Governance Learning Network. It is the network from which BEST and DDP came together. We're also part of the HIV and AIDS in Local Government Network. We're also part of the PHP Reference Group. The PHP Reference Group is the coming together of NGOs who work in the housing space. It depends on who the minister is. It's on and off. It depends on who the minister is, as I'm saying. And then we are part of Shinta Makaya, which is a newish network. It's less than 10 years old, that looks at tenure security for people who live in farms. We are also part of the Asivigelane network, which I'm sure most of you know about. It started off during the COVID lockdown. Its responsibility is coming together of different NGOs, community-based organizations, as well as social movements to monitor the delivery of water and sanitation in informal settlements. We are also part of we have a partnership with Corruption Watch. Some of you know about Corruption Watch, that they deal with the issues of corruption in the entire continent. So we have an MOU with them. We jointly facilitate with them on issues of corruption awareness. I will not bore you about some things that we do, but I think it's important for you to understand our background. My presentation has got 3 segments. It's the introduction, which I'm still busy with, and then from the introduction, then I move to our observations with local government. I decided to limit my presentation to the area of public participation, the state of public participation with local government. I have mentioned that we work throughout the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So we interact both with smaller municipalities and together with the bigger ones and also with the metro. My point of departure in today's discussion is our understanding about what developmental local government is. We understand developmental local government as a government that is committed to working with citizens and groups within the community to find sustainable ways to meet their social, economic, and material needs and to improve the quality of life. What is the legal framework that we base this upon? The first one is the Constitution, and the Constitution of South Africa of 1996. It guarantees the right of every individual, yes. It guarantees the right of every individual in South Africa, the right to participate in their own development. The second part of legislation that informs my talk this morning is the Municipal Structures Act, which lays down the responsibilities of the municipality, the roles and responsibilities of council, as well as the roles and responsibility of the administration, together with the responsibility of the ward committees. The third one is the Municipal Systems Act, which, according to Chapter 4 of that Municipal Systems Act, it states very clearly that the municipality has a responsibility to make sure that all citizens of the municipality participate in the issues of governance and the issues of development. Generally, in all the municipalities upon which our community partners live and work, we discover, I do not think that these are new things. There is a very high level of factionalism within the municipalities. This is due to what is happening inside the political parties, and then it goes to the municipality, and then it affects service delivery. There is also a very high level of the politics of patronage. We see it, that development goes to areas and cities where the political parties know that they have the most support. There is also corruption. I will not dwell much on the corruption because I'll speak more about it on a slide to follow. There is also high levels of maladministration. As we speak in KwaZulu-Natal, there are 8 municipalities who are under administration at the moment. There is cadre development. We do know that cadre development is a global phenomenon. It happens everywhere. But at least appoint people who know how to do the job. And then there is also role confusion and undue political influence. If I can just share more about this. There is a very strong attitude by the governing parties in the local municipalities that we govern here. We want to vote, we govern here, so we govern everyone. Including the administration, we govern everyone. Some of them, they do it because they are not aware of the clear distinction between politicians, and administration. There is one very, very energetic mayor who will remain nameless. He's young, he's very energetic, but because he doesn't understand the distinction, this mayor, every morning, he stands at the gate of the municipal entrance and he waits for employees for them to account. Why are you late? You know, that's the responsibility of the municipal manager. Okay. So, I won't bore you with a lot of general observations, but this is what we see. Most municipalities just do not take the public participation seriously. They don't put enough resources into public participation. They don't even bother to invite people on time. A few years ago, BES conducted a study where we were assessing the level of participation within the municipalities. And what we discovered is that people are not given enough notice for public participation meetings. And even during these meetings, the participation from the community is only limited to questions that they ask. The role of ward committees and community development workers is not very clear. You will see in the case study that I'll be moving into shortly that they are there, but you cannot really tell what is the impact of the presence of. Okay, and then the last point on the slide. Because of the lack or poor public participation, there is a huge misalignment of the service delivery product that is given to the community against what the community needs. Here is a big example of that. Can anyone tell me where this is? Where? Bolivia. Has anyone seen it before? It's in Pietermaritzburg. It's called Wachigato. It's named after a taxi lord who lived in that area. Okay, here the government spent an amount of 445 million to build these flats. Now, 445 million to build 404 flats. They're very nice flats. 2-bedroom flats, I wouldn't mind to live there. But the problem is the flats were supposed to be solving this problem. The flats were supposed to be solving the informal settlement problem called Wachigato informal settlement. One MEC came, probably it was close to the elections, and the MEC says to the people, don't worry, we shall be building you RDP houses. Don't worry, we'll be building you RDP houses. And then there is a cabinet reshuffle, and another one, and another one. When the flats are being built, and then Msunuzi municipality comes to the people and says, the flats that you see being built are not RDP. These are community residential units. What is the difference? Yeah. If it's an RDP, it means that Uto moved from this house to the flat, and she owns the flat. But if it's a rental unit, it means that the qualifying criteria is that you have to be employed. You have to be employed and earning 800, a minimum of 800 to 3.5. All right? So the flats are built, they're ready for occupation, the municipality goes back to the community because there was no prior engagement and participation. The municipality goes back to the community and says to the community, now come and apply. Let's see who qualifies. Now, I told you that they built 404 units, right? And only 200 people from the informal settlement qualified. So those who don't qualify are asking the municipality, what do we do now? We've got the flats at our doorstep. What do we do now? And so this municipality says that, no, don't worry, you will be included in another project in Signal Hill. and Lincoln Mead. And both these areas are 12 kilometers away from the settlement. And these people, because they have their agency, they say, "Ngeko born," you know. We are not moving anywhere. We are not moving anywhere. So there is a danger, or there is a situation that Otto and others who don't qualify for rental, they go and invade those flats. And as soon as they invade those flats, and we know blocks so and so are invaded, those people are not paying. Even those who had signed up to pay will stop paying. This is what happens when there is no proper public participation. Now, I want to introduce you to colleagues of mine from Dundee, Spong in the township in Dundee. It's a case that I want to work on that highlights the main issues with local government. You can see them there. They're standing in front of the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. For those of you who cannot read isiZulu, the placards are saying, "I want my house back. Give me my house back." This is the work of a voluntary association that we are supporting called the Endumeni Civic Association. They're based in Spong in the township. They formed themselves organically. In fact, the leaders who are leading the movement are people who had led a civic association before 1994. So it's a re-emergence of a civic association. They came together in 2016. They meet regularly to discuss issues. The main problem are these houses that you see. These are houses that were built by government as part of a project called the Buffer Strip housing project in Dundee. You will remember that the special planning of apartheid was such that you have a white area, and between the white area and black area or colored area or Indian area, there is a buffer, which is vacant land. All right? So the government built these houses. It's very well located land. It's flat, it's beautiful, you just walk to town. So people applied, were approved for this project, and then in 2016, the project was completed in 2015. In 2016, Obaba Utelezi, Ozodwa, Manyati, and others, I have a list of all these people. They're sitting at home with a paper from government that says that you have been approved for a house in the Buffer Strip project. When Obaba Uteles and others go to that particular house, that's got a house number, someone is already living in that house. Because the house was sold to them by municipal officials. So these people start complaining about this at war room level. They talk about this at war room level, there is no action. And what do? They go back to the leaders that they know. They say, here is the situation. And then the Indo-Ministerial Association is formed there and there to act in solidarity with these people. The Indo-Ministerial Association starts to ask for meetings with the Indomeni local government, as well as the provincial Department of Human Settlements. They have records of those failed meetings. 4 of them. They tried, it never worked. And then they decided to engage some NGOs, and then they decided to take the municipality to court to seek justice for those people who were approved for housing but never got occupation of the houses that rightfully belong to them. Then the court commissioned a forensic report to be made, investigation to be conducted. This investigation here in 2018, because here we are talking about the consequences of lack of public participation. This report alone cost the municipality an amount of 500,000. And you would think that after the report, that names people, you give names to say so and so did this, and the municipality should do this to someone. Lack of consequence management. And then in 2019, the Indo-Pacific Association went back to court, and the court ordered the municipality the court ordered the municipality to take steps to rectify the situation. Still, there was nothing. You would think that when the court gives an order, the municipality will take it seriously and call the people who are affected to a meeting at least. That never happened. The community went back to court in 2019 to apply for the provincial government to be enjoined in this action. While the provincial department did something, the HOD wrote a letter to say that it's fine, we accept that something did go wrong, so those people who are affected will have to be accommodated in another housing project, which also is in Glencoe. We are going back to court on the 24th of November. We are hoping for a judgment that enjoins now the National Minister of Human Settlement to have this situation sorted out. So a few thoughts about the situation here. This is a summary of some of the judgments by the court. Says that the municipality's action was inconsistent and in breach of the constitution. Action of the municipality was arbitrary and manipulative of the waiting list of the RDPs. The municipality doesn't have a clear process on how to manage the list. The municipality was found to be corrupt in the allocation of RDP houses. You would think that when the court judges this way, there will be consequences for people involved. Nothing until today. Okay. So clearly, from this case, you can see that there was clearly a lack of participation. There is corruption, unethical leadership. I don't know how much money has the municipality spent in court up to date. It will be interesting to do figure and share with the public that this is how much your municipality is spending on lawyers because they just are not committed to do proper public participation. But mostly, the qualifying beneficiaries are deprived of their right to adequate housing. Two of the names that I mentioned when I started my presentation, Ubaba Utelezi, Nosisi Uzonke, have passed on without having their rights realized by the municipality simply not taking seriously. We could go on and talk about the situation not far from here, Foreman Road. When 3,000 households, and you only have 10 population blocks. So all these people are supposed to be sharing these toilets, and half of them are not working. So I move now to the recommendations that we have. To everyone, I don't like presenting, but my laptop is not working. All right. So we believe that there has to be more and systematic monitoring and evaluation of local government performance in terms of public participation. Number two, we believe that the public participation assessment of each municipality by AGSA should be made public. At this point, the auditors from AGSA, when they come to audit a municipality, they file a report that talks about public participation. But unlike the other details of the report, it's not for public consumption. It forms part of the management report. So our recommendation is that this report should be made public. Yes. So that everyone within that municipality knows how their municipality is performing. Okay. The government needs to show political will to support independent organizations within its municipality for them to engage. They need to provide relevant, timely, cost-effective, and useful services that are beneficial to the people. All right. They need to increase their collaboration within government departments for the benefit of the poor. The last point. The municipality and government needs to support community-based monitoring systems. We shouldn't rely on AGSA, but the communities should be empowered to do their own monitoring. There are many methodologies. There is your social audit. There are many methodologies that are bottom-up that could inform the municipality and also AGSA about the real performance of the municipalities. As I was preparing, this is my last slide. As I was preparing for my input here, I came across this very brilliant agreement by cabinet. It's 10 years old, and I'm not sure how many of you know about it because certainly I did. In 2013, they were talking about a framework for strengthening citizen government partnerships for monitoring frontline delivery, service delivery. And in that framework, they say that, emphasizing the building of capacity for both citizens and officials on to monitor how citizens experience service delivery, analyze together that feedback, and take actions aimed at improvement and communicate the outcomes to all stakeholders. So this is our last recommendation to government from a government framework.
And I think though it is sort of disturbing, but another round of applause I think is Now we come to the question time. But before we do that, on the presentation, one important stakeholder is not being mentioned. And maybe if people could look at how it does, traditional authority leadership. Justice there is swift. In the case of the boundary disputes, Inkosi or Induna reports to Inkosi, and Inkosi says, call those people on such a date to the courtroom. And people go there. And justice is meted immediately. You don't find people languishing pushing around with all legal disputes as far as boundaries are concerned. It is addressed swiftly. But maybe it shows that there is something that our modern institutions can learn to the oldest institution that has been in existence. Because you don't see those kind of buildings that you have seen there. How people could live in such a situation. Now, let me not take, we only have 30 minutes. I think we will, I don't know if it will be possible that we can spend 15 minutes asking questions on the issues raised by the Auditor General, and then 15 minutes on the issues raised by Mr. Vega. But it might be difficult to really control that because people might be wanting to talk to any. Yes, Mr. Mchao.
Just 3 questions from the floor, please. 3 questions from the floor. 3 questions from the floor.
For each presenter?
No, just 3 questions.
Oh, you know.
Sorry, it's a time thing.
Okay, 3 questions from the floor, and I'm going to have a problem as to who I start with, but that hand has been up from that lady. And then this gentleman, you introduce who you are, and then to whom the question is directed to, and then you ask. And I hope the Auditor General will also be visual.
Yeah, she's
okay. That's great. At the moment I've got 3. I need another 3rd one. Yes. As I have pointed out, we start with that lady there and the gentleman, and unfortunately another gentleman here, but we will see if the time does permit. Can someone help me with the mic?
Yes, go for it, please, ma'am. Yes. Yes, please.
Okay, go from where you are.
Okay, good morning to all of you. My name is Hansa Naika, and I am one of the community members from Starwood Women's Ladies Support. And my biggest question actually is the Auditor General's report. The presentation was quite good, but for most of y'all know the situation that's happening right now in KZN. So my biggest question was the solutions, and also that why they have spent so much of money just to get consultant, whereas every department, whether it's government or whether it's companies or wherever it is, they will have each person doing their job and each department doing their job. So why should they hire a consultant to do the job that people are being paid to do? Right? That's overall what I looked at that. And the second one is about the presentation was made concerning the community. I agree very, very much that there's a lack of community participation, and there's a lack from government especially. They don't have enough road shows, and most of the times when things are happening where there's community participation, it's most of the time advertised after it's already done and dusted. So most of the time it's too late, people don't know what's happening. And also in the KZN province, as I look at it, we had a paper that before the COVID that was actually quite good because it tells you about the jobs in the municipality, it tells you about the tenders, it tells you everything. But right now we don't have that. But the community participation thing is something that is very important, and we have a lack of citizen participation. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Sanbonan, good day. Sandy is who's on the floor now. Mine is just a general question.
Sorry, you said there's a mic something myself, so
It's a general question directed to the DDP. It's saddening to listen to such presentations and to see what is happening. But my main concern is, how is it helpful to listen and to watch what has been presented, and then you find that even the people who are affected are not together? Like in forums like this, where municipalities and the civil society are in one room, getting such presentations and trying to find concrete solutions. Because as much as I appreciate the engagement here, us as civil society alone, without the officials and the politicians, there's something lacking. Is it possible to have sessions where parties are together? I mean, the parties in terms of civil society and the government together. Thank you.
Then the gentleman here.
Good day, everybody. Sanbonano. My name is Pat Reddy. I come from Westwood, to the Westwood Ratepayers Association. However, I've been an activist from the 70s, fighting the old government. Now we're still fighting the new government, which is very sad. At the age of 70, I should be enjoying my retirement. But however, I'm not going to give up. Anyway, to the AG's office, just a couple of things. I think most important is the 50 billion over the 4 years, which the city, I cannot guarantee, but we need guidance from the AG's office. How is this funds misappropriated? How can we hold the city accountable? Then in terms of our wastewater treatment works, if the city has been planning and preparing well in terms of climate change, I know a lot of our politicians have been all over the world in terms of the different COPs, and we cannot prepare a major city like Durban with the challenges of the floods in terms of climate change. And we have a very senior people in our city who is representing us, Dr. Rebra Roberts. Also, she holds quite a high position. So I'm questioning, we have people in terms of what are they doing to protect the poor. I've been to all the areas, in the poor areas, and it's so sad. I know one community is battling with the city and provincial government. They've got the property, sorry I'm digressing, the AG. But these are the kind of things, reality on the ground. And it's time the authorities listen to civil society. We are being pushed. You go look at the sanitation in the informal areas. It's a total disaster, and it's sad to say we are human beings and we allow the people to live in those kind of things. But coming back to the other thing is in terms of the wastewater treatment works. In terms of the 27 wastewater treatment works in our city, and quite a few of them, I'm not going to put my head on the block, but a number of them are discharging directly into our rivers. And our politicians deny that and say, no, the beaches are still open. We had blue flag beaches. We were the cleanest municipality in 2008. What has happened to everything? How could the infrastructure just disappear? Then we've got Go Durban. It's sitting, nothing is being done. All we're paying is for security to look after that. And now today we're having a meeting here, and you couldn't come out from Durban. Why? Had we had our rail systems working, you would have been here with us, and we would have loved to have had you here. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, the day is getting here, and I think you will, because we're really running out of time, but it's from this built environmental, so I would allow them, but to be very quick. And then we are then going to have the responses and then break out for tea.
So I have to equate the gender aspect, okay?
Thank you.
Just a quick one to the AG's office, and I did touch on this at the AG's office previously, but we want to find out, we've got a project, or CSOs have got a project within the Itiquini municipality. And it is causing, I'm quite shocked with this material irregularities, because the reason is it's causing substantial harm to the credibility and the reputation for the CSOs, as well as the Itiquini municipality as well, where there is projects that have been implemented. There's MOUs signed by the municipal manager, there's been approved a council resolution, but now that they're putting a stop to these things, where civil society organizations have worked with communities in formal settlements to take care of the climate within the informal settlements, whether it's sanitation, whether it's rights awareness, and to clean up the environment. They've been employed, but right now,